Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 291 of the Audible Farm podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. The Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association is all about supporting and connecting local artists, musicians, and creators right here in north central Iowa. Head over to fdfineartsassociation.org to find their community calendar packed with upcoming concerts, art shows, theater events, and more. While you're there, check out their podcast, FDT. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. That's the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association, celebrating creativity and community in the Fort Dodge area. This week, I'm going to do a solo episode. It's going to come out a little bit later than normal, but I bet you already figured that one out. All right, so this episode, I want to talk about something I saw online recently, and it was a social media post about AI. Go figure. AI in music is a very, very touchy subject. Really shouldn't be, though. I'm not sure. I've got some nuanced thoughts about this. Let's kick it over, play some music, and I'll see you on the other end of the intro.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right. First and foremost, I do want to apologize to anyone if I look a little goofy, if I sound a little goofy. I'm a little under the weather. So apologies for that. Hopefully it sounds okay, and we're just going to go from there. So if it sounds like crap, keep it to yourself. All right, so I saw something yesterday, and it kind of stuck with me to the point where I actually did a bunch of research on it and tried to figure out exactly why this is a thing. So the post yesterday, I saw Corey Waller of Corey Waller and the Wicked Things had shared this post. He was the first person I saw share it. I've seen other people share it too. Whatever. This is just the first one I saw. But he shared this post from a person named Wes Ship. And it says, venues and artists, please quit using AI for your posters and flyers. That shit looks tacky as fuck. And it's putting real artists out of business. Use real art. Please and thank you. So apologies for the coarse language there, starting off the episode. But this is such a touchy thing. It's such a good point. Lots of people commenting on it. Lots of people liking and sharing this post as well. Let me see how many shares this post actually has. It has 42 shares. The original post does. So before we get into your guys' thoughts on this, I was thinking to myself, back in the day, people used to ask you questions, and I could just go to Google and figure it out. It would take me like 5 minutes to find an answer, and then I would just send it to them and be like, hey, here's your answer. And people are just like, oh man, you're a genius, you know everything. And it's like, nah, I just went to Google. Like, it took me 5 minutes to figure this out. And I just thought that like everyone did this, but apparently that's not something everyone does. That's not how everyone's programmed. That's not the default position of most people's brains. And so that's what I was looking into, this AI and how people are using it and what it does to the, I don't know what you say, cognitive miser behavior of human beings. So the research I said, I was basically looking for like, why is it that people, even with the advent of AI, still don't really want to put a lot of work in. This is kind of a cousin to what we're talking about here, but the main point I want to pull out of this is cognitive laziness. Humans always default to the lowest effort path. That's just kind of how we're wired. I see myself doing it sometimes. I see others doing it quite a bit. I think it's just easier to spot in other people than it is in ourselves, which is just something. There's also the fear of being wrong or doing something incorrectly. People could have a learned dependence on someone else. Maybe people were never taught how to do any of these things and they don't want to do the research themselves because once again, what if they're wrong? The fear of being wrong, or what if they do it incorrectly or it doesn't look good? The initiative to actually do these things is believe it or not, I actually looked this up. It's very rare. It's like 20% of people actually have the initiative to go out and do something that is, I want to say like tougher than just the lowest effort path. And that's 20%, 1 in 5. If you get 5 people in a room, only one of those people is going to do any of the extra work. And the other 4 people are probably going to lean on that one person to do that. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of bands have, let's say like the gear person, or this person knows how to run the sound equipment, or that person's good at social media. Everybody just kind of finds a little something, a little niche that everybody's good at, and everybody kind of just takes it. But more often than not, a lot of these things kind of get defaulted onto one person. It seems like there's one person in the band that usually does a lot of the stuff for that band, specifically if it's a band that is outside of the singer-songwriter realm. There's nothing wrong with the singer-songwriter realm, but let's just say like your rock bands, your punk bands, your indie bands, things like that, where they're actually a band. It's not somebody's name and the group name. It's usually just like Three Finger Betty or like whatever. So the initiative is not always there for people. Another thing that is kind of funny is just like the social efficiency of everything, the irony of it all, etc. I mean, I went deep into this search to find out information on this. Believe it or not, I used AI to help me do some of the search. And that just comes down to, again, like AI is a tool. AI is a tool that people need to learn how to use, but you can't use this for literally everything. If you do use it for everything, you're going to end up with this, these comments. Oh man, it's so annoying when I see the posters. They all look exactly the same. They all look so cringe. You're not setting your venue or your brand apart or your band apart. You're undermining graphic designers. Blah, blah, blah. Like can't use AI for music because it defames our art. But then these people are actually just taking graphic designers and defaming their art, So there's this weird thing of like, it just seems like everyone's just kind of trying to find the path of least resistance for everything. And I get it. Like, again, I use AI a lot in my professional setting to create like short form content from the long form content. The long form content, I don't really use a whole lot of AI to create it, but I use AI to kind of help me out with some of the short form stuff. That doesn't mean I have one of those, like auto voiced, nothing but B-roll stock footage nonsense things that people are creating out there these days. Those are pretty cringy. I kind of turn my nose up at those. But if it's some content that somebody already made and I can use AI to help me efficiently chop it up, maybe throw some words on it, toss some graphics on the screen, boom, it cuts, 3 or 4 hours of work down into 1 hour. I'm still doing the work. That's the important thing about all this. I do want to say AI for posters. Let's just start there. A lot of people don't even want to do the work to make a poster. It's that's kind of rough, to be honest. A lot of people will put it off, especially musicians will put it off onto the venue. Oh, if you're going to book me, you got to do some of the work, blah, 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 blah. We've all felt this way. We've all run into these situations where, like, let's say a venue wants to book you. And sometimes, depending on the genre you're playing, where you're playing, what you're playing, the venue, maybe they're not going to pay you that much. And they're like, okay, we're going to pay you $9, but you have to do all the promotion for this too. We're giving you the exposure. We're giving you the platform and the place to do all this stuff, but you have to do all of the promotion work. You have to create posters. You have to create ads on Facebook, create events, share them, tag people in them, et cetera, et cetera. And not only that, but sometimes even if you make these posters and events and things like that, the venues won't even share them. So there is an initiative issue that has always been kind of this two people butting heads, two organizations or entities butting heads, the bands versus the venues, even though we work symbiotically to bring entertainment to people. And this should work out for everyone. But I do sometimes see there is a little bit of an issue, and that could come down to maybe you're playing in a small town bar and they don't have a graphic designer. Go figure. There's a small town bar that has 3 people that work there, and the town has 300 people in it. Nobody's graphic designing for this bar. It just kind of makes sense. It's just the way it is. Does that mean that like, oh, well, my band only has 4 or 5 people? Like, what makes you think one of us is a graphic designer? That's why I use AI to make all my posters. Well, I don't know. So again, it's that path of least resistance. Are you putting any work into this at all? I've seen so many people that they'll just feed things into an AI, whether it's Canva or whatever, and just say, make me a show poster. Here's the information. What are the issues I see with that? AI will distort people's faces and figures to make it not even really look like them anymore. It could make your beard shorter or longer. It could, make the words on your hat not even words anymore. It could do a lot of different things. If you have a logo and you dump it in there, it could alter your logo minusculely, but it still does it. It will maybe like write the title of the thing. Oh, come see, band A at this place. And it's using a font that's not even a real font. And to some people they don't care. They don't know. They just don't know. But having dealt with, graphic design and things like that over the last few years pretty deeply, not necessarily personally, but I work at a place where there's a lot of that. I see how much work and effort it goes into actually choosing correct things. And I can kind of wreak havoc especially if you want somebody to reverse engineer it and try to make it here, take this thing I spit out in AI and make it yourself and make it so we can edit it. And it's like, well, that's not always as easy as you think. Sometimes AI just makes up its own fonts. It'll combine 4 or 5 or 6 fonts. So it just finds what it thinks looks good, and it doesn't always necessarily look good. Another issue I found with these posters is, let's say the opener has a bigger picture than the headliner. I've seen a lot of that happen. I've seen a lot of things where it's like the show takes place at this time and it's this many dollars. And also there's an opener, and that's a different time. And it also says it costs money. So like, it makes you think, it's like, is there an opening show and I have to pay money for that, then leave and come back and then pay another fee to come see the headliner? Or how exactly does this work out? Some of this is just the laziness on the double checking the work of the AI. And you have to do this. You have to think of AI as an employee. And not only that, but AI is the employee that's even lazier than you are. It's going to do less work than you. It's just going to say, here, I found this thing. Go for it. See if it sounds good, whatever. And maybe that's a thing where I feel like just being the person that's online, making social media posts and helping create, content for 9, 10, 11 different companies, 6, 7 podcasts, et cetera, these are just the things I see where it's kind of like, I don't know if I don't disagree with this wholly, but I don't know if I really agree with this wholly. It just comes down to, it just doesn't look right. It feels like you walked into a room that you've always been in and everything's like an inch to the left. And you're just like, what's with this place? It looks a little weird. But you can't quite put your finger on it. And that's what AI does to a lot of things. So, AI for posters, is it usable? Sure. Is it literally the laziest thing you can do? Yeah. Is it better than not making a poster at all? Absolutely. So there is something else I want to say. Last year, a little over a year ago, I interviewed Jordan Beam. Amazing interview. If you want to go listen to the correct way to go about doing all of this, Jordan Beam has such a perfect podcast for this. Go back, check it out. He talked about how he'll make the posters, he'll make the events, he'll do all the work for the venue that he wants to do in a certain fashion to make sure that his name, his logo, his brands, the photos he wants, the information he wants on everything, is all up to snuff. It's up to his quality standards. That's because he has standards for what he's doing. And he does a very good job of that. He does a very good job of creating these events, coordinating it with the venues or the small town bars or wherever he's playing and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. Here's the poster. I can get it to you in any capacity you want. You can share it any way you want to. Here's the event. I made it. I invited you to it. Please accept the invite, et cetera, et cetera. This comes down to communication, which I don't think we're not always the best at. I don't think, with more ways than ever to communicate with everybody, we're just not the greatest at it. Myself included. I'm going to have somebody on next week. Ask him. It's one of those things I asked him about 2 months ago to be on the podcast or something. And then I just kind of put it off, and then eventually was like, hey, let's do this. And then he said, I'm free on these days. Then about 4 or 5 days goes by and I'm like, oh yeah, I am free on one of those days. So I get it. I'm the same way to an extent, but we just have to understand that this cognitive laziness of not wanting to do the right thing is kind of damaging. It's almost like if you don't take care of the small things, the big things won't ever get taken care of. I can tell you that I've seen it firsthand with businesses. I've seen it firsthand with small companies, slightly larger companies. I've seen it with peers at past jobs where they just coast through, and then maybe a year or two goes by and they're like, oh, I don't know why I'm not going up the ladder here at all. And it's like, it's because you're not putting in the work. And that is also some of the issue I'm seeing with this is it's that whole like equity versus equality thing, and whether or not people are really, you can tell who's putting the work in. It's not that hard to figure that out. So on this post that Corey had shared, I had left a comment that said, I would rather see a crappy Photoshop job of a random background and some blocky band logos than any of the AI stuff. And I stand by that. Like, I played with Three Finger Betty forever. For the longest time, we would just literally take like graphics from like some weird science fiction book or like just some like artwork that we found that we thought was funny, or a photo online that we saw that we're just like, there's a rat eating pizza. All right, well, this is going to be the background for our next flyer. Why? I don't know. It's just funny. We made flyers, and hats off to John Watt. He made 99% of them. He's the one doing all the work. And that's one reason I was never like, oh man, we need to have the best logos and the best everything and whatever. As long as the information's there, it's organized in a fashion everybody can digest easily, it's great. There's nothing worse than looking at a show poster and being like, okay, these bands, they're going to be at where? Oh, there's the venue. Now what's the day on this? Oh, it's over here. Does this cost anything? And you just don't know. The information's not organized always the best, especially with AI. So I think when somebody has their hand, stirring the pot, it's actually, you have a little bit more attachment to this stuff, and you're gonna do right by yourself. You're gonna do right by your bandmates, and you're gonna do right by ultimately the venue that hired you to come to the place to play the thing that you're paid to do. Let's be honest. Even if it's not a huge payout, again, I've said some bands I've played with don't get big payouts. It's just the way it works. Certain genres of music have less demand, et cetera, et cetera. But there has to be something to be said for even if somebody is doing an AI poster, at least they're making a poster. There's nothing more damaging than not making a poster. You can't just put a picture of yourself on an event and just share the event on Facebook and be like, there, I did all my work. I shared it once. I uploaded a picture, quote, just good enough. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So AI for posters. What is your guys' thought? Do you guys like AI for posters? I honestly, like I said, I would rather just see somebody that's very, very basic at graphic design work or Photoshop, or just downloaded some, nonsense app on their phone to just be like, I don't know, I could just layer photos on here and that's good enough, and I'll slam some text in the corner and it tells you where to go and what's going on. Perfect. That's great. If that's what you want to do, I support it wholly. But you can't just not make one. So the benefit of this is some people are actually making posters now. Granted, do they all look the same? Yeah, they sure do. If you go to Canva and I need a show poster. All right, well, you can't just go to Canva and be like, show poster. And it's like, here's the first template, click, upload information, done. Because it's going to look exactly like the next person's. You got to change something. You got to change the color scheme for your branding. You got to change the fonts, change the layout, change literally anything to make yourself stand out. You can't just copy paste the same templates everyone else is using and expect people to see that is something different. That I don't know. You just scroll through Facebook. It's like, well, that looks like the last thing I saw, so I'm just going to keep scrolling past it. I don't know. These are just the way I feel. But yeah, AI for posters. What about another one on here was something AI for music. Music sucks. It doesn't have breathability. It doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know. I've seen some AI music out there that's pretty wild. Again, this comes down to like some of this is more hands-on than not. I used AI to research all of these topics, but I didn't just say, hey, AI, make me a script and I'll just read it for the podcast. I'm putting all this stuff together in my own words and my own thoughts, and that's what makes this original. Not the fact that AI helped me do research, it's the fact that I'm actually, doing the work here. AI is helping me, but I'm doing the work. So, yeah, I don't know. AI for posters, that's one thing. AI for music, I don't think people should be using AI to make music. I don't know if I should really even say that. AI for music is such a touchy thing. If you're going out and you're making AI music and then you're reverse engineering it and playing it live, I don't really know. Like, you're basically just a cover band. And who are you covering? I don't know. Just a computer? Like, does that? I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense to me. I don't necessarily like it. But I have brought this topic up before, and I've had people tell me, yes, I use AI for music, but I use it in this capacity, or I use it in that capacity. And some of the things people said actually made a lot of sense. One person said, every now and then they'll make a song for one of their children just to be like, oh, hey, check this out. Let's write a song about you using this software that is, whatever, free, or I have a free credit for. Let's just do this and see what happens. Out the backside comes some random song, and it's kind of fun. That doesn't mean this guy is like going to his band saying, check out this song, let's sing this and play this live, and now we can make $1 bazillion off something that I didn't actually put any work into. That's not the way that's going. So AI for music is, I don't necessarily think that it's like, it depends on how again, this is all dependent. It depends on how you use it. Here's an example. Something I've been looking at using AI for a lot, which this was also brought up in this post. It's it's cheesy, it's cringe, blah, blah, blah. The only thing I would consider using AI for is if I'm doing some repairs or blah, 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 looking up answers to fix something or repair something or to learn something new, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I like AI. I've used it to help me learn how to do stuff. I've used it to help me learn how to fix things. I've used it to, give me the basic outline of what's going on in a certain situation. And then I apply my own, my own brain to it and, just basically utilize it as like the stepping stone. This thing is the teacher for me. It's giving me the information, but I have to discern what's coming out of AI. I can't just believe everything it says and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. Because it could just be pulling stuff from some random place on the internet that's wrong. Like it's just blatantly wrong. I've seen it happen before. My favorite thing ever was I remember Googling something once and the AI answer that showed up was wrong. I just knew it was wrong. I was Googling it just for the sake of posterity, just to be like, okay, I think I heard this once. Let's Google it to see if this is factual. And the fact was just like, no, that's incorrect. This happened. But then the very first Google search return was from a reputable source that confirmed everything I said within a date frame of when I had heard it. So it's like, okay, so the first return on your search engine holds all of the information because it's from a reputable source and it says that what I was thinking was true. However, the AI response that you gave me said no because, the second through 42nd return were all just a bunch of garbage from nonsense websites. And because they're louder than the actual factual website, it just told me I was wrong. Well, there's different ways to get around this. You can prime your AI in certain ways to say, hey, I want you to research it this way. You are an XYZ. I want you to give me responses like this. I want you to cite your sources. I want you to only go to reputable, locations, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. There are ways to go around it and kind of prime it to get what you want out of it. But at the same time, sometimes it's just not right. I don't know what else to say. It's just, you have to have competency. You have to have the ability to do deeper thinking than just like asking a question and regurgitating the answer that comes out. All right. Sorry. I had to take a short break there. If I'm a little under the weather, I apologize if everything doesn't sound the best. But yeah, so people need to go out and do their own work. This has been something I've been kind of just arguing back and forth with. I noticed it with the Google era, and it's just like, why don't people just Google and figure this thing out for themselves? Well, some of it is a deference of responsibility, and not only that, but it's I don't know exactly the right way to say it, but it's basically you're just trying to absolve yourself from any of the responsibility of a possibly incorrect answer. And I get that to an extent again, but at the same time, I feel like that's just lazy. It's this social shortcut that people are taking that is just, I don't know. I would rather try, be wrong, fix what I'm doing, and then come out correct in the back end than just not try at all and then hand off the issue to somebody else and be like, you figure it out. But some of this is also like, if you can ask somebody else to do something and then share it, and then you get to look cool because you're the one that shared it. There's actually like a confirmation to that. Let me see. I have it searched here somewhere, but basically what you're doing is you're transferring all of your responsibility to somebody else. And maybe that's the ownership of something. People just don't think that they have any ownership of something, or if they do, they want to transfer that to somebody else to do all the work and then to come back to them and they're going to take all the credit. It's what I like to call invisible work. If somebody asks me a question and I come back to them in 5 minutes with the answer, I might have used AI. I might have Googled it. I might not know anything about the topic at all, but I went to reputable places and I found information that said this is the answer. And they think, wow, this person's a genius, but that's the invisible work I'm talking about. As musicians, we practice at home. That's the invisible work nobody sees. You show up to a show and people say, oh, you're so good at guitar. How did you get so good? Oh my gosh, you're the best drummer I've ever seen in my entire life. I didn't know you could sing that good. How did you learn how to sing that good? Well, we all had to put the work in. There's very few of us that didn't put any work in. Even the people that are natural talents had to put some form of work in order to get something out the backside of this. They didn't just show up and be like, I'm good at the guitar and now I'm hired. That's not how any of this works. Like, we had to put the work in order to do it. Decision fatigue is another thing that, let's say, what it said is researching and implementing solutions requires making choices, interpreting information, and committing to an action plan. And that's not something everybody wants to do. People don't want to absorb cognitive loads for that reason. They just don't want to be forced to be thinking about things that maybe they don't want to think about. People are scared to look ignorant on a topic. People are scared to do something and have it be wrong or to be corrected by somebody else. And that's basically all the internet is now, is you put something on the internet and everybody says, well, that's crap because I did it better because I went to school for this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, then you do it your way and I'll do it my way. I always think about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's like, oh, wow, this fog is this thick as peanut butter. You mean pea soup? And it's like, hey, buddy, you eat what you like and I'll eat what I like. And that's kind of what it comes down to. There's ways around this. Some of this stuff just seems so obvious to me that I don't know why I even have to bring this up. I don't know why somebody had to make a post about this and other people had to just be like, yeah, I agree. I feel like we should all agree on these things, but at the same time, we're not all wired the same way. And if we were, it'd be a boring place because you guys would all be like me, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. So this is just like the frustration we always see. Idea work is not necessarily easy to see. There's something that's also called the manager credit. So like if you're in charge of something and you just delegate it out to somebody else, you're essentially like a manager. That's what managers do at jobs. And managers are very, very good at, I don't want to say like taking the credit, because even if they say, my team and I did this and here's what we found, they gave the team credit. However, there's something that is in humans' brains when we see there's a visible messenger behind a message. We're going to believe that visible messenger is the person that did the work. It's just the way we're wired. And that's not always easy. It's not always easy to just kind of go with that either. So AI, should you use it for posters? Sure. Should you delegate it out to somebody else? Yeah, why not? Give them some credit though too. Put their name on the bottom of the poster. This poster was created by XYZ or whatever, there has to be some form of, compensation. If you give them money, well, guess what? That's the compensation. You can pay a graphic designer to make a poster for you. Some will do it fairly inexpensively. But this also graphic design, even if you do it with minimal effort, is not just a snap your fingers and it's done thing. It's not something that takes 5 minutes and somebody's going to charge you $50 for. That's just not the way it works. I could do it I could do something in 5 minutes and you guys would be like, ooh, maybe I'll go back to AI and have it make me a poster, because that's just not how it works. It's that invisible work that we're not seeing. And these are the things that nobody actually wants to do. We all want the results, but we don't really want to do the work on the back end to get to the results. I've seen this a lot maybe in my last couple jobs I've had. In this job, I've seen it very rarely. A lot of times what I'm working with is small businesses. People take ownership of their small businesses. They want them to run correctly. They have ideas. I help them implement them. That's it. They are the idea people. I could spitball new ideas to them, but eventually it comes down to these people own companies and they want their company to do good. And that is the driving factor in this. We should all feel that same way about bands. We want our bands to succeed. There's this thing that we all think that just because that person has this, I feel like I deserve more because I worked harder, or I've been here longer, or XYZ. Well, sometimes none of that stuff matters if it's all the invisible work. Again, this is, we live in a society where social media is the biggest place you can go. And if you're always seeing something from one band and they keep getting more followers and more shows and bigger shows and more money, and then you're just eventually just bittered off by this band that's doing better than you, even though you feel like maybe we are more talented than they are, or maybe we do put on a better show than they do. Well, if you're not advertising it, you're not showing anybody this. If you're taking the path of least resistance on literally everything you're doing, nobody's going to look at you as a professional in this field, regardless of what the field is. So I do think there has to be some sense of ownership that we have to have involved in all of this. What I wrote down on my paper was, I just call this the human application. We have to have human application involved in this. Can AI do work for you? Yeah. Should human application be involved? Absolutely. The line between let's say a Canva template or just typing garbage into ChatGPT and uploading a few images and saying spit me out a flyer, it's really not that much different than downloading some software that's Photoshop or Photoshop similar. There's piles of ones that are free. Go out there and find a free one. There's really not a whole lot. it doesn't take much longer to do it yourself, and you can get it done the way you want it. It can be perfect. You can add new things, do new stuff to it. Learn while you're doing this. We all learned on the job. We all learned on the fly. That's just how we are as human beings. You have to get your fingers involved in these things. You have to touch this stuff in order to learn from it. It's not just something where you can just like, oh yeah, I joined a band and now I'm great. Oh, I downloaded a software and now I know how to run it perfectly. You have to go on the internet. Who else has used this? How did you use it? Let's learn to use it better. And that comes down to using social media correctly. Why does this person do so great on social media? Well, they're posting at certain times. They're posting certain intervals. They're posting certain things, maybe 2, 3, 4 times. Maybe they'll post everything for a whole week, different stuff every day of the week, and then they'll find out what's been working the best, and they'll regurgitate it the next week to get more people to look at their stuff. This is organic content creation. This is not something where we're paying people to look at it. This is stuff that is organic. Can you pay people? Yes, you can pay people to look at stuff. That's called an ad. That does work as well. And I don't ever want to hear anybody getting mad that somebody else is using ads and getting something out of it. Oh, wow, somebody spent money on something and they're getting something off the backside of it. Oh, wow, that's how the world works, everybody. So we need to sit down and look at a few of these things we're doing and maybe change the way we're doing it. If anything I've mentioned in this episode has struck a nerve, I'll tell you what, if you didn't get this far in the episode because you're upset about some of the things I said, maybe you need to spend some time looking in a mirror and put in a little bit of extra work. And I'm not trying to call anybody out here because I haven't named anybody's band specifically, other than one band that I know has been doing it very well. One person, Jordan Beam. There are others out there. There are plenty of others out there. They've been on the podcast within the last year. There's a handful of them. There are also, I will say, bands that are taking somewhat of the path of least resistance, but still putting in the work. Much like Three Finger Betty, we don't play as many shows anymore. If we're doing a show where we're the headliner, we're creating all of the social media content, we're creating, and right now I used to do, I would say, most of that. But now John, our singer, is doing most of that. Why? Because I'm doing that for other companies and other things, and I just don't have the energy to sit down and do it for one more thing. So that is why we've transferred the responsibility of this over to John, who is literally the soul and heartbeat of Three Finger Betty. And he has done a great job. This is one reason I don't mind it when somebody has some weird background on a poster with just 3 band logos slapped in there, even if they're like, non-transparent background, just JPEGs that are just whatever. Just slap them in there. I don't care if it's a rectangle thing. Just put it on there. It's better than not doing it. And I think it's better than if you dumped it all into AI and said, make me a poster. And then it just looks like everyone else's stuff. You don't want to look like everyone else. You're not like everyone else. I'm not like everyone else. We need to showcase what makes us original, and we need to do it in a fashion that is positive. We need to do it in a fashion that uplifts everyone, that draws eyes to what we're doing, that will put more dollars in the pockets of not only us, but the people we are working with. And that's literally all it comes down to. AI posters, are they bad? Depends. AI music, is it bad? Depends on how you're using it, I guess. Using AI for learning, is that bad? Depends. A lot of this stuff just depends. A lot of what I saw from this post made me go down a rabbit hole of I noticed this when Google was around, and it was just as easy with Google to find information as it was with AI. As a matter of fact, it might even be, I don't want to say maybe easier, but I know what websites are reputable websites. I know what places to go to find good information. And AI doesn't always pull information from the correct places. And if I'm the one searching it, I know it's correct. So if you type a bunch of stuff into AI, it regurgitates a bunch of information. Now I got to research all this information it regurgitated to make sure that it's correct, unless I ask it to cite sources for me and go to only reputable places like XYZ and ABC. And then, yeah. So this is just something I've been seeing a lot of. It's just that cognitive laziness. I hate saying that, but that's literally what it is. It's just people taking the path of least resistance, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just how we're wired. It's that, what do they call it? Cognitive miser behavior. So, have I done that? Yes. Do I do that sometimes? Yes. But I try to choose when I'm going to do that and, how I'm going to apply it if I do choose to do it. But I really don't want to, I just don't want to phone things in. That's what it comes down to. Another thing is like perceived expertise versus actual expertise. Have I fixed guitar stuff? Yes. Have I fixed a couple, amp type things for people? Yeah. Have I fixed pedals and microphones? Yeah. Am I an expert in any of this stuff? Absolutely not. Like, I can't tell you, I never went to electrical school. I've read a book on it. Sure, I go on the internet and research things when I need to figure out exactly what I need to do and when I need to do it and why it needs to be done. But you have to be able to try new things. Trying new things is, variety is the spice of life, everybody. And again, this is just something I feel like I've been drilling this home for about a half an hour. These solo episodes are meant to be a little bit shorter, just to bring an idea to people to kind of think about. The last one I did, I got a couple great responses out of it. I absolutely love it. So the last thing I'm going to say is if you are one of the people that is, generally speaking, wired like me, I do want to say this one more time. I am just as cognitively lazy as everyone else. If I have an opportunity to just not answer my phone, to just sit around and do nothing, I will take that opportunity. I'm not 19 years old anymore. I don't have all the energy in the world to do everything that everybody wants me to do all the time, even though I do a lot of things for other people. I love helping people. It's what I really, honestly, I feel like that's somewhat my calling in life, is to help people in some capacity. I don't know exactly what that is, which is why my fingers are in so many pies. But I do like trying things. I like trying new things, and I'm all about it. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the work in the front end if you want anything out of the back end. And the only people that don't have to do any of that are people that are very lucky, people that have a lot of money, or people that have something involved with like nepotism in some capacity, or people that already put the work in 10 years ago and have established themselves as a front runner in whatever the industry is we're doing. Those are the only caveats to this. And, very few times do things slip through the cracks. And I will say that the only times that things do slip through the cracks that aren't any of those things is just some of that, the idiot social media nonsense that just seems to happen. Like, why was everyone obsessed with like this, personality or that personality? And then like 3 or 4 weeks go by and they're like, this person's an idiot. And it's like, well, yeah, I think about like Tiger King. It just took over everybody, and it's like, I don't understand this. I went and tried watching it. I don't get this. It just wasn't made for me. But I feel like that's just one of the things where sometimes the internet just grabs onto things, even if it shouldn't, and it just explodes it. But you also have to understand there's a lot of people with, no job, no life, no redeeming hobbies of any sort. And this is all they do is just go on the internet and just blah, 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 blah. These are the things I'm looking at. And they make 98 accounts for all this stuff. And they just, bot farm the heck out of the internet. It's tough to see what's real and what's not on the internet anymore. It's tough to figure out when people are actually being honest, or when people actually have, tried to do real work. So in conclusion, I will say this: if you're going to use AI, use it, but put human intervention before it and after it. Use this as a tool. Use it as a tool to help you find a means to an end. If you want to make a show poster, ask AI how to make you a show poster. It'll tell you, here, go to this website, put these things in here, use this. Maybe you'll use a software or a website that nobody else is using, and your stuff will look unique. Boom, perfect, done. Maybe you can download a software. Maybe you can build it with some software you already have. Do you have Snapchat? Can you like upload a couple things and add a couple layers on stuff, and boom, there's your poster, and just download it? That could work. I've seen people do things like that, and it works better than just popping it into AI and being like, oh, give me something here. And it's, I don't know. It just doesn't feel the greatest. I just don't see if I really just don't enjoy it that much. And I know that a lot of other people don't, because that post confirmed basically everything I've been thinking over the course of the last couple weeks. So if you're going to use AI, use some human intervention before and after it. Put in the work. It doesn't take a whole lot of work. 20 minutes worth of work on the front end for, 5 minutes worth of reward on the back end. It seems like you're investing a lot to get not much out of the back end. But if you don't, that's how investing works, people. You have to put in your principal in order to get any sort of return. And guess what? Your return is not likely going to be bigger than the principal that you put into it. But if you do that over time, repeatedly, consistently, you're going to have rewards. And that's what it comes down to. All right, I'm going to go to the outro, but stick with me. All right, so as we're in the outro here, I do want to say, if you listened to this episode and you made it to here, congratulations. This just basically sounded like me berating people for using the internet. It's not supposed to be that. It's not supposed to be me just saying, this is the way it's supposed to be. If you want to use AI for your show posters, go for it. I really don't care. That's not what I'm going to do. But if that's what you want to do, go for it. I don't care. If you want to use AI to show you how to make music, sure, go for it. If you want it to make music for you or to I honestly do not care. I've seen people use AI for worse things and get more out of it. So whatever you want to do, just do it. You have to do it with conviction, though. But I will also say, what you're going to put out into the world is what you're going to get back, though, too. If people see that you're putting out literally the minimal effort every single time you have to do any task, it's not going to take long for people to figure that out. It's not going to take long for people to spread the word. And it's not going to take long for all of that to catch up with you. I remember hearing once that if somebody has a bad experience, they'll tell 20 people, but it takes 20 people having a good experience before one person says anything, and they'll only say it to one other person. And that's how that works. You have to do a great job over and over and over and over again, consistently. It's that consistency that's going to build this for you. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on using AI? What are your thoughts on using AI for music? What is the most egregious use of AI that you have ever seen in the music industry? Maybe let's just say locally. We could definitely zoom out and say well, this is pretty stupid or that's pretty dumb. But let's say locally. I'd say I mentioned it in the episode. The roughest one I've ever seen is people that AI it doesn't even just add a filter. It just changes the way these people look. Oh, now their eyes are further apart and their beard is longer and they got a smaller nose and their smile is way bigger than it should be, etc., etc. When you look at it, you kind of just might be like, I don't know if that looks like somebody that looks like this person, but it doesn't look like that person. And that's kind of what I feel. That's just kind of how I feel about AI. Again, you can do whatever you want. I don't care, but you have to put the work in if you're going to get any sort of rewards out of the back end of this. And there's very, very, very few instances where that's not going to be the case. So, if you made it this late into the episode, thank you very much. Let me know what your thoughts on this are. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. If you think there's somebody that needs to listen to this episode, please, please, please share it with somebody. Send it to them right now. Wherever you're listening, Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, whatever you found any of this information on, send it out to somebody. And that's basically all I have for you. So check out Audible Farm stuff online, everywhere, at Audible Farm, audiblefarm.com. And that's it. I'm going to be back next week with another episode. I will have a guest next week, I promise. I feel like I'm going every other week without a guest, which I honestly don't mind. I feel like I could come up with a topic twice a month to talk about that I see that bothers me. And this topic is a big enough topic that I'm actually going to bring it up possibly on a marketing podcast that I was on, or that I host. So I might actually bring it up on that. I was also recently on another podcast telling my life story. Some of these things are lessons I had to learn the hard way. I didn't want to put in any of the work. My cognitive laziness was at max capacity from 14 to 27. I was not putting in any extra work if I didn't have to. And, now that I'm actually putting the extra work in, I'm seeing the results of putting the work in. And I feel like everybody needs to understand that you have to put the work in. So thank you guys for listening to this. Audible Farm for basically everything. At Audible Farm, audiblefarm.com. Thanks, guys. Peace.